Welcome into the Weekend Dads podcast. It's the official start to the 2022 season. I'm joined here by 2021 champion Zaid Zappy Zarilla. Zaid, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Blake. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. We're kicking off the new season. We got our annual keeper show now. We're gonna go through everyone's who their keeper picks are gonna be coming up in the draft. We got the draft coming up on Saturday already. I can't believe it's already here, honestly. Halfway through
I'm
August.
so excited.
We're going heading to the farm with a PH. So it's gonna be awesome. So Zaid, before we get into the keepers though, what were your thoughts of winning the 2021 Weekend Dads Championship?
Man, it feels great. Starting the year, my team struggled. A lot of weekend dads were, attacking my team and my choices in my draft and all that, which is fine. We came back and we had a strong end of the season with Joe Burrow. Yeah, it was a great end of the season, and it feels great to be a weekend dad champion. It feels really good to be a weekend dad champion. So it's great to So maybe this is a year we get a new champion too.
Yeah, we're starting to run out of new champions. We've never had a repeat champion as of yet. We've had I think 6 years or so now. I think we've been playing and we've never had a repeat champion. So we're gonna start running out new winners. But there's been talks about expanding the league possibly, so you could throw some more in there. Got to widen the pool so that we can keep having new champions every year. But what'd you do to celebrate? What'd you do with your winnings as Weekend Dads champion?
Not necessarily anything big. I just bought a cigar. When I won, I was actually sick, so I celebrated like a week after I won. I smoked a cigar by myself by the pool. And yeah, just like my boy Joe Burrow, we champs, so we celebrate.
Champs, let's go. All right. Well, I think we've wasted enough time just kind of hanging out here, so we'll go ahead and just get on into the keepers, who everyone's got. So we're gonna basically take this in I guess it'd be ascending order of draft odds. We're gonna start with the very last team and then work our way up to our champion from last season. So starting off, well, there's our 2022 keepers. Welcome. Starting off though, we got the Gibsons, so Colin's team. As far as keepers go for Colin, for first round picks, he has Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara available, Mike Evans for a round 2, Adam Thielen for a round 3, Myles Gaskin round 5, Aaron Rodgers there at round 8, Ryan Tannehill for a round 8, Michael Thomas and Marquez Callaway. Holy crap, I stuttered there. All for round 8 selection. So Zaid, what are kind of your thoughts with Colin's keeper situation here? I think last year he kept Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara after his championship season. He actually went from first to worst here this past year. Couldn't keep his running backs healthy and just really struggled all around with his whole team. I think he had a lot of injuries the whole year and never really got going. But what do you think in terms of keepers or his keeper situation going into this 2022 season?
I don't think Colin has the best options. He probably have like a few options that I would consider. I really like Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara as first and second. Those are probably his best options, but he should always look into keeping maybe Michael Thomas, or maybe Aaron Rodgers for an 8th is maybe a good choice. But I don't know what he's thinking right now. But if it's me, I'll probably keep Cook and Kamara.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be really interesting to see if he goes, especially there's been a lot of questions over Kamara and kind of what's going to happen with the season because I don't remember what he even got in trouble for. He got in trouble for something.
It's an assault.
Oh,
yeah,
he beat the crap out of the guy at the Pro Bowl. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's waiting on that. We're waiting on like the actual court case and all that trial to happen and everything, but it seems like it's really getting dragged on. So I mean, he might end up getting to play the whole year, but then he could get suspended at any point, and he could get suspended halfway through the season. So you never really know. Dalvin Cook, I think, probably guaranteed as a lock for one of his keepers, and then that second one is, he could go couple different ways. You could go Kamara as a second round pick. I mean, Kamara is a guaranteed first round pick, I would think, as long as he doesn't have his legal issues. Honestly, Mike Evans, especially with Godwin going to be hurt, like Brady's going to have to throw to someone, so it'll probably be Evans. I know he's had some hamstring issues though in camp. Michael Thomas is definitely interesting, but you don't know what you're going to be getting with Michael Thomas because he hasn't played in like 10 years. But,
Yeah.
So you don't know what he's going to be like. I think reports have been good out of camp for him, but who knows? And then Aaron Rodgers is just always good. It's always nice to get like a round 8 quarterback, just have someone really late so that you don't have to worry about drafting anything or a quarterback anytime earlier. You just know that you already have that in your back pocket.
Yeah, it's huge to have a good quarterback.
So it'll be interesting. Kind of plays in his favor. He, like I said, has the highest odds for the number 1 overall pick, which basically means that if he does keep like Kamara or Cook, that would be a 1 first and second round, but that second round pick's extremely late, so it's almost a third round pick at that point. So kind of get some good value, and you get to double up then and pick immediately there at the beginning of the third round. So be interesting to see what he ends up doing there. You got anything else to say on Colin before we move on?
Not really. I just I would just keep monitoring all the news about Kamara before the draft and see if anything evolves before that.
All right, and just try not to be like Colin this year, Zayd, and go from first to worst.
Oof.
Moving on, we got Austin, the Snaggletooth Mountain Goats, or I don't even know what his name is. Is he Snaggletooth Mountain Goats in our league? I don't even know what his name is.
He's Nutcrackers.
Oh, the Nutcrackers. Well, we all know him as Snag, so it's fine anyway. Coming in for his keepers, we got Najee Harris and Calvin Ridley for first rounders. DeAndre Swift for second. Darren Waller, the one and only D-Wall, staple of Austin's team, but we're going to talk about him in a little bit. Available for a third round. Laviska Shenault available for a fifth round. That's kind of crazy because people were so high on him last year and he did absolutely nothing. Justin Herbert for an 8th. Michael Pittman for an 8th. Mooney, Gage, Robinson, and Fant all for 8th round picks. So when I was doing Austin's keepers, I thought it was really funny because like he has like a first, second, third, and it just drops off so fast. And then like there's 1 5th and then a bunch of 8th round picks. So he was just scooping guys off waivers that had already been drafted and like, or just he held on to he got rid of the guys that he drafted like in the middle rounds and then held on to the guys he was holding on or had from the very beginning. We know Austin likes to get his guys, and predicting his keepers was one of the hardest things, honestly, for me. Najee Harris, I just don't know how I feel about the Steelers because I think who's their quarterback? Is it
I mean, I don't know if we know yet, but I think for now it's
I don't know, Trubisky, isn't it?
Trubisky. I think it's Trubisky for now.
Lord. So you never know what even Trubisky you're gonna get. So and that could be a good or bad thing. Najee Harris got a lot of volume last year, so he was like involved heavily. But I think they've been reporting that they want to slow him down a little bit. So that would definitely hurt him. His other first round pick, Calvin Ridley, who I traded over to him last year, just at first quit playing football, and then got caught sports gambling, so he's suspended for the whole year. So that's clearly not going to be an option for him. But you never know with Austin. You know, you might keep him for keeper value next year. He'll have great ADP because he'll be an instant 8th because I don't even think he's drafted at all. So his ADP is probably infinity or whatever.
Close.
DeAndre Swift, he kind of has at value. I think Swift honestly could have a huge year. But one of his locks I think he has here is going to be Pittman probably. So Pittman for 8th round. A lot of people are expecting Pittman to kind of step up and have a big year, and Matt Ryan's definitely an upgrade over Carson Wentz. So I definitely think he locks there. And then the other guy I had picked for him was Justin Herbert. Kind of like I said before with Aaron Rodgers, it's always nice to have a really good quarterback there locked in a late round. And Herbert could possibly be like I would definitely say he's going to be at least a top 5 quarterback this season. I probably just jinxed him. So if you are going to draft Herbert, then you better jump off now. But he has the opportunity to be a number 1. Well, what do you think?
Looking at Austin's team, I don't know. I like a few players around his team that with the value. I think for sure Pittman should be a keeper at eighth pick, and the second is probably between Swift and Najee, and I'll probably just go Ridley as second because he can get his first and pick Najee again, or
Yeah.
like somebody might pick him up before him, but he might be a second. That's where he should be. So I think if he picks if he keeps Swift, he has a high chance to pick Najee or somebody in that tier. So I think that's where he would be looking.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And so I didn't mention it before, but actually the breaking news of the offseason was that it was confirmed by Twitter that the Nutcrackers will not be exercising their keeper option on Darren Waller this year. So at a staple, I think Austin was one of the first guys on Darren Waller since Hard Knocks, just all in.
Some say he disowned him.
Disowned, some say. Sources.
Mm-hmm.
This is official breaking sources on the Weekend Dads podcast saying that he disowned
Some
him.
say.
Some say. Don't reveal your sources though, Zayn.
Some say.
But I mean, it's wild. It's a new times here in the Weekend Dads League with Darren Waller apparently going to be available in the draft. We'll see what happens to him. But
be nice to get him, it's a chance. Austin been keeping him for a while, so now we have a chance.
Well, you have fun with that, Zayd. You can have all the Darren Waller you want, huh? Let's go ahead and move on. Who we got up next? I don't remember. Oh, crap, it's me. All right, the Bebop and Baby Bears. So, we had a rough year last year. I'm not even going to lie. Kept CMC and Calvin Ridley. Ridley, like I said, quit football. And then CMC just pretty much quit football as well. So, but he's going to be back. And we have him for a first-round keeper. So, I don't know. Who knows? I might keep him. I might not. I don't know. We'll see what happens. We got Mixon also available for a first. Eckler, I put for a second, and I think I'm wrong there. I'm pretty sure I have to keep him for a first. That might be a typo. I think I have it actually. Hold on, let me look.
I think it's a first. I think it's a first.
It should be a first, but yeah, it's for a first. I just had a typo there. So Eckler for a first. All my three running backs absolutely stacked there. Running back looks outstanding. None of them ever played like together all at once. It was very sad. Allen Robinson, the new Rams wide receiver, available for a third. Amari Cooper for a fifth. Travis Etienne, my boy. I must have messed up all these keeper rounds, but because Etienne is available for a fifth, not an eighth, so whatever. Don't mind my screw ups. Robbie Anderson is available for a sixth. Kyle Pitts is for a seventh. Tyler Boyd is for a seventh as well. Cortland Sutton for a seventh, and then Trey Lance an eighth, and Tom Brady an eighth. All right. Wow, I really screwed that up. So, I had a lot of change, honestly, with my team. I mean, you look last year, ETN got hurt right in training camp, I think, like before the season even started.
Yeah, before the season started.
It was literally like a week after we drafted, he got hurt, and I was like, well, that really sucks. CMC got hurt. I was able to draft or trade for Austin Eckler kind of halfway through the season, but at that point, my like wide receivers and CMC was already hurt, and like we were just struggling hardcore.
Well, that trade was in your favor by a lot because Ridley decided to quit football.
Oh yeah, I basically got Eckler for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So that did definitely work out in my favor, but yeah, I mean, I have literally Pitts is probably a lock if anyone like thinks anything. That obviously for a 7th round pick, probably going to keep Kyle Pitts. The other one, it's up in the air, it's probably CMC, but who knows?
Yeah.
What do you think about the keeper situation here, Zayd?
I mean, I don't know. I like a lot of players in your on your keeper situation. I don't necessarily love the value, but I go by get your guys. So I would keep CMC and Eckler, just because those are like those two can win you championship if they're both healthy. Um, Coppas could too. The value is really great on Pitts, but for me, it's always get your guys, get whoever can score most points for you every week. So that's where I would. That's who I would go for.
Well, we'll see what happens come draft day. I'm slated with the best chances for the 3rd pick, so we'll see. Moving on, we got Boogie Juice, Mark. So this is a rough one. Better buckle up, as Trevor would say. Nick Chubb for a 1st, Antonio Gibson for a 1st, CEH for a 2nd. I think I messed these ones up too. CEH is also for a 1st. Dang it. Terry McLaurin for a 2nd, Chris Godwin for a 3rd, Tyler Lockett for a 4th, Russell Wilson for a 6th, Michael Gallup for an 8th, Gerald Everett for an 8th, Chuba and JD McKissick both for 8ths. So these are rough. When I actually look through, I know in Weekend Dads we hate ADP, we just can't stand it. But Mark doesn't have a single guy that is considered a value from ADP wise.
Yeah,
the closest one
not
is
within
Chubb.
And maybe Gallup close, but the rest are like off.
I think with Mark, you never really know what he's gonna do, so it's kind of just a complete shot in the dark. But I could see him going like Gallup because it's a round 8 pick. Like you're just kind of throwing that away and hoping that he's the number 2 wide receiver for Cowboys and like has a decent year. And then probably like Russell at 6. I mean, Mark was a Seahawks fan. I don't really know anymore, honestly. But Russell Wilson guy, I don't know. He probably can't stand Russell Wilson, honestly. But like, what else is he gonna do? It's either Russell Wilson or Nick Chubb. But it's like, does he want a 1st round pick or not? And if you want a 1st round pick, there's not really another option. At least Russell Wilson you would start every week.
Yeah, I think Mark loves 1st round picks, so I assume he would not keep Chubb. I agree with you on Russell Wilson and Gallup. I mean, he loves Gallup. He kept him over Aaron Jones a few years ago, and I don't know. I don't think he has any better options. Like those are probably his best options.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you're not going to take Lockett. CEH, if he's not fully out on, he should be by now. Antonio Gibson was blocking for punts today, so you could, if we got points for special teams plays, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean, at worst, he can get Chubb back at 1st. So
yeah, I mean, especially with him being more towards the beginning of the draft, odds are Chubb will still be there to be able to get him. Especially if the guys ahead of him take 1st round picks, which happens a lot in our league. So, but yeah, I think that's kind of he has that. Do you want a 1st round pick or do you not, Mark? That's kind of your options. But it's Mark, so you never know. He might go like Gerald Everett and JD McKissick just to.
He must surprise us. Yeah, he must surprise us all. Yeah, you never know.
He might just do it honestly to make a point and be like, I don't need keepers. Watch this, and then drop him week 1. So we'll see.
I guess.
Next up, we got the Piss Boys, Jason. So I made a little comment to Jason. I wasn't even trying to be mean about it. I was just like, I'm really surprised that you didn't have a ton of value with your keepers, because we all know Jason's the big ADP guy, and he's always known for scooping them up off waivers like the last couple weeks of the season when things aren't going his way. He's like, oh, I'm not going to make playoffs. Let me go get as many keepers as I possibly can.
Which he did, kind of.
He only has like a couple guys, though, I thought. He got Cam Akers from Austin, so, a little beef there. But
yeah, that's big beef.
I'm not even going to go through all these keepers. I don't feel a need to go through it. But, I mean, just looking with Jason, I thought one of his best keeper opportunities is CD with a 3rd. ADP has CD going like early to mid 2nd round right now. And then I know Jason loves his wide receivers, and CD has potential to be one of the top in the league, really, depending on kind of how the Cowboys offense really looks this year. We don't know how Amari leaving will impact CD, but we'll see. The 2nd pick was a little bit weird for me. So I've heard some rumors from certain people like you, Zaid, saying that Jason might go all in running backs this year, which would be just a huge shock to the league. But if everyone pay attention, if Jason starts getting running backs in the first or second round, he might be all in on running backs. So we'll have to just be ready for that. Jason, if you do decide to do that, I can't believe that you would only give the. First of all, you have to rebrand because you can't be the Piss Boys anymore. And second of all, you gave up on the zero RB after 1 year of just a rough time. So it's like you can't just give up after 1 year. You got to commit and at least try 2. But for a second keeper, Cam Akers could be maybe in play. I don't love it because you don't really know who's going to be the starter, honestly, on the Rams. Like, he could easily be splitting with Darrell Henderson, which Jason also has on his team, but I don't think he'll keep him for a third.
Yeah.
So I don't really know where he'll go outside of this. He could go like T. Higgins route. T. Higgins for a fourth is like decent, I think, because T could be, I think he's worth of like third or second maybe. What is he? He goes in technically the mid fourth, but I don't think he would actually do that like in our draft. I mean, especially with how many Bengals and Burrow fans we have in our league that think that that offense is just super prolific, and I don't think he would make it honestly the fourth. So as a Clemson fan, I think they're good value.
Their O-line just got better this offseason too.
Yep.
So yeah.
So I mean, we know they're good. They were literally in the Super Bowl last year, so that could be a good pick. I mean, Judy could be kind of interesting, especially with Russell Wilson going to the Broncos. We saw how good Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf were. Other than that, I don't really know where he would go. I don't know if Diggs or Brown are really worth like a first rounder. I kind of like those middle or those kind of middle round wide receiver options he has.
Yeah, I really like Judy for a fifth. I don't know if that's I think that's like within ADP. It's like right around there if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, it's pretty close. It's like a round or so.
But having a first, second round pick when whoever you have for first and second round keepers or not for value is always good. To pick a later round keepers and just have your first and second.
It is really fun having later round keepers and still having, like, you get like good players. They might not be first rounders like in the late rounds, but having like second, third, fourth round players that you keep like way in later rounds of the draft and having your like high round picks still, I think is really fun. I like having
it. Feels good. Yeah, it feels good. It feels like you accomplished something last year too. It's not about this year too. It's like, oh yeah, I did great last year that I set up myself in a good situation now.
And it's always so deflating when you're super hyped to draft and then the draft starts and you don't get the draft for like 30 minutes because you don't have a first or second round pick.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Let me tell you about it. I've experienced that almost every year, so it's not great.
Well, I think that's it for the Piss Boys, so we'll go ahead and move on to the next team. Coming up next, we got Trevor and the Chain Gang. So I'm gonna be completely honest. I think Trevor's going the same route he has the past like 3 years.
Isn't the contract almost over?
Dude, I don't know.
I don't really know the exact rule for the contract, but I know there's like we can't keep players for more than 3 years.
We'll have to ask Jason the commish, but if Trevor's got to be close to closing in. I think when Travis Kelce was born, he drafted him and has carried him all through high school, college, and then the pros. He'll probably keep him until he retires.
Yeah, he've had him since I joined the league for sure.
And then he had Derrick Henry. I think gave up 1 year. Dustin got him, won a championship, and then Trevor was back with Derrick Henry. But so yeah, I honestly think Trevor will just go back straight to the wall. I mean, he finished like kind of middle of the pack last year. Some of his like later round draft picks just didn't work out, but when you get, I mean, Travis Kelce is dominant at tight end. Like he's been the number 1, number 2 tight end the past 3 or 4 years or whatever. And you have Mahomes and now Tyreek's gone. So like, who else are you gonna throw to? It's got to be Kelce. And then Derrick Henry, it's like is older and so big, but just like so dominant, and you can't stop him. He gets better the older he gets. So it's like, just keep, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Keep going.
I agree with you for Trevor's keepers for sure. I think those are like his best options as well, and they're two great players. Like I'd love to have them as keepers, you know.
I mean, otherwise, if he's feeling real spicy, like Lamar Jackson for a 6 isn't bad, honestly, at all.
His boy Devontae Smith.
His boy Devontae Smith, yeah, that's pretty good too, especially with they got AJ Brown there now, and Jalen Hurts is looking better. Or everyone's expecting them to have a big season, so they got a lot of weapons in Philly. Devonta Smith came on really good too as a rookie and everything, so you never know. But yeah, I think he just keeps going back to the Henry Kelsey. It'd be pretty crazy if he didn't, honestly. I can't imagine, especially Travis Kelsey on any other team other than Trevor's, because he's just, as long as I remember, has always been on Trevor's team.
Since I joined the league, if I'm not wrong, I really don't remember him being on any other team.
It's gotta. We just put the sticker on the board now. Speaking of the board, pray that we have one when draft day comes.
Oh, hopefully.
Moving on to the next, we got Team Tots, Eric's team. So Eric, we were talking before we started the podcast, actually had a real surprise year. I think we had him like 9 or 10, honestly, when we did our post-draft power rankings last year. But he made it work. The Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill stack really worked out for him. Leonard Fournette ended up being really good. And then James Conner. I mean, you look at like the players he had, like he had a really good team. Looking as far as keeper situation, I honestly, I hate this, and I can't believe that he's such a high draft pick, or people are thinking so highly of him. But Leonard Fournette for an 8th is like crazy value. And then James Conner for an 8th, which James Conner, it makes a little bit more sense. I myself was a big James Conner guy when he was in Steelers, and it hurt too much to ever go back. But with Chase Edmonds gone, James Conner is going to have like pretty much all the opportunity other than the younger like pass catching backs that they have. And then Leonard Fournette, I mean, the Buccaneers looked incredible last year still. It's like Brady's not slowing down, so he looks so slow when he runs, but people just can't tackle him.
I mean, and the volume, and he's catching passes now, so like I don't know, like, you know me, I loved Fournette. I've had him for so many years, and whenever I didn't keep him, it was the best version of him, or the best fantasy version of him. So I think for an 8th, it's a great value when he's getting picked like in the late 2nd, early 3rd, I think.
Yeah, right
is where he's getting drafted. So it's like, yeah, that's great value.
But I mean, other than that, like Mahomes
maybe
and
Renfro.
Tyreek, like, yeah, I
maybe
really like
Renfro for an
Renfro.
8th. Yeah, same.
The thing with Renfro is he's never gonna get you like 20, 30 points. I feel like he might touch like 20, maybe, but like he's gonna get you at least like in the teens every single week, like almost guaranteed.
Yeah,
like
I
he's
agree.
gonna be like, I don't know, like 5 or 6 receptions for like 70 or 80 yards, and just like consistently 11, 13 points, 15. Like he's just gonna get you in those like mid-teens every single week, and just get you receptions.
He's kind of like Cooper Kupp light. He's like he has the same kind of style of play and run.
And I mean, he was basically the number 1 receiving option on the Raiders last year, but now they got Devontae Adams, so might open
but
up
Devontae Adams
might,
yeah,
bit.
that's what I'm thinking too. Yeah, I think he's gonna open space for Renfro for sure.
Renfro, Clemson guy. Let me just say, those Clemson boys, they know how to play receiver.
They do.
Mahomes and Tyreek, I don't think, like maybe before Tyreek would be worth a first, but the unknown of like the Dolphins and Tua and all that, you don't really know what you're getting. I think it's a little bit too risky. And then Mahomes losing Tyreek, I think, takes a lot of his value away. I personally would probably never keep a quarterback for a first round pick though anyway.
Yeah, same.
It's just not worth it. DK Metcalf, especially with Russell Wilson gone, not worth it first. Yeah, I mean, I think Leonard Fournette, James Conner, and then maybe some Renfro in there. Really good options though for Eric. And he gets literally it's going to be a 7th and 8th round pick is what I asked for clarification from Jason how that works. So would it be, instead of being an 8th and a 9th, it's a 7th and an 8th?
For 2 8s?
Yeah, for 2 8s. So,
Okay.
but still, then you're getting, like we said, Leonard Fournette,
Value.
who goes in like second, third, or like third-ish round, and for an 8th round pick, and then James Conner, who's, well, I have him at a 4th round pick for a 7th. Like, you're getting really, really good value on 2 running backs that are startable. And so Eric can just kind of do whatever he wants at the beginning of the draft. He can grab a tight end, quarterback, whatever it may be, and already have those guys in his pocket. So, all right, moving on to our 3rd place team from last season, the Mags. So Daddy Jimmy. Jimmy was another one that I feel like we were not very high on his team, but then he ended up having a great season. So let me pull up his value charts. So Jimmy has really good keepers. I think Jimmy might have some of the best keepers, honestly, this season, other than honestly you. But he gets Jamar Chase for a 5th round pick, who's, like, if you listen to any fantasy analyst, anything, he's a top 2 wide receiver. It's him or Cooper Kupp. It seems like everyone's going between. And people are just so high on and Justin Jefferson's top 3. But everyone's so high on Jamar Chase just because he did have such a crazy season last year, and he was crazy. I mean, I feel like it was like big games and then he had a couple duds, but he's so talented. He's insane.
The big games were like huge games.
Oh yeah, they're huge, and he has I mean, he just has all the potential to be the next, like, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, like,
for sure,
absolute game breaker.
He could finish him first next year, for sure.
Exactly. He definitely could. And then he has him for a 5th, and he has Mark Andrews for an 8th, who I think Mark Andrews was the number 1 tight end on the season last year. Got him at really late in the draft last year, and then has him for an 8th. So that's 2 crazy values. Also has Mike Williams there for an 8th round pick, which we saw the Chargers offense is just absolutely nuts. And he's the wide receiver 2, we think, right now. He could take over, though, I think, as the number 1, especially after he got paid in this offseason. So very possible Mike Williams could be in for a huge year, and he has him for an 8th round pick. And yeah, I mean, even if he's really feeling it, he could go Devontae Adams, I guess, for a 1st, but I don't know if I would necessarily do that. At least theoretically, chances are going to be a late 1st round pick for Jimmy, so he would just get a 2nd there shortly after. And Devontae Adams is a crazy wide receiver. He could theoretically have Devontae Adams and Jamar Chase again as his 2 wide receivers, and you're like,
Mark Andrews, because he can. He might be able to get him back in 1st if he doesn't keep him. He could be able to.
So he's set up really well. That Jamar Chase just in the 5th round really gives him a lot of flexibility. He has a number 1 wide receiver pretty much already for a 5th round pick. Pretty crazy. So
yeah, and the number 1 tight end on the season as 8th round pick, which is crazy.
Yeah. So very good keepers for Jimmy. But any last thoughts on the Mags before we move on?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. I don't think there's any value keepers. Yeah, but like those 3 are huge. You know, like if he picks 2 out of these 3, he'll be all right. So
I agree. He'll be off to a really good start. All right, we'll move to our 2nd place team. Your foe from the championship game, the Cardboard Hippos, and Dustin. So Dustin here, honestly, he has pretty good keepers himself. He really got set up amazingly, though, last season with having Josh Allen for like an 8th or something crazy like that. And then he had Justin Jefferson, I think, at crazy value last year. Like Josh Allen, Justin Jefferson, both really late. But this year, what I have him penciled in is for Jonathan Taylor and Justin Jefferson for round 1 and round 2. And I mean, he gets that, like, he literally has the 2 top positional players of their positions pretty much. So Jonathan Taylor was the number 1 running back last year. projected to be number 1 this year, and then Justin Jefferson is, I think he was number 2. I don't know exactly what he finished
He
as
was
last
number
year.
2. He's projected number 1 this year.
He's projected number 1 just over Cooper Kupp this year. So like, he's getting both those guys back, and just kind of puts him. It's not he's still getting value because more than likely he's going to be late in the draft. So you're getting a really late Jonathan Taylor, and then you're getting Justin Jefferson in the 2nd round. So it's like he gets 2 first-round picks.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's so much value.
So really good start that he could have. He has some value also with like Javonte Williams or Jalen Waddle. He honestly drafted really well last year. Hit on a lot of his good draft picks, but I don't really see him getting away from Justin Jefferson, Jonathan Taylor. Like, unless
that's the best you can get, really. Like one of the best that you can get.
Yeah, he's keeping one of those guys, and so he's losing a 1st-round pick, and like there's just no reason not to go both of them, honestly. So I think he's locked in there. Gotta let go of his boy Josh Allen, but he might grab him there in like the 3rd round or something.
He can pick him right there in the 3rd round if he's there when
he makes
he
that far. I could see Eric swooping him because Eric likes to swoop the quarterbacks people like.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, I guess it's not Mahomes this year.
Yeah, right. So, all right, that's it for the hips. Pretty easy on that end. So here we go. We move on to the champion, the Zappy Zorillas.
Let's go.
I reckon.
I reckon.
Zaid, here we go. Aaron Jones, Saquon, David Montgomery, Cooper Kupp, DJ Moore, Michael Carter, Debo Samuel, Brandon Cooks, Burrow, Dylan, and Madison. This is the championship team here, Zaid. Are you sad to watch them go? You can only take a couple of them with you.
I am for sure. If I have a chance to keep the whole team I had last year, I absolutely would, without even thinking about it.
Forever in your heart.
Forever in my heart.
So you haven't really kept it a secret. You've been pretty open about Debo Samuel and Cooper Kupp. Do I have the? I'm trying to find you on my list. I have the. Yeah, it's all correct. So Cooper for a 3rd, Debo for a 6th. That's also like insane value, and honestly really, really good start for you because you have your 2 starting wide receivers who are both top 10 projected wide receivers on the year. For later round picks, you're still going to have a 1st and a 2nd round pick, so you can pick running backs or whatever you may need coming up in those first couple rounds. I mean, do you want to declare it and lock it in right now, barring any injury?
Yep, for sure. Barring any injury, it's Cooper Kupp and Debo for sure.
You reckon?
There
Can I talk you
is not
into a really valueful Joe Burrow in the 8th round?
I mean,
or what about Aaron Jones? He has a cool hat.
I mean, I love his hat. I love his sunglasses too. But if Mark doesn't scoop him in the 1st, because I can see that happening, because he loves Aaron Jones, and I think he's not gonna keep a 1st-round pick. He'd probably scoop him. I'll probably scoop him if I can.
That might be a Zarilla once again.
I hope so.
All right, well, that's going to do it then for our teams. We got our draft coming up on Saturday, so I'm really excited to see how it all goes down. We'll definitely have to do our post-draft show. Maybe get some analysis, at least at the draft, from Mike too, and get some his opinions on people's teams and who he thinks going to win. I think, didn't he pick you to be last year, or he just bashed on your team?
No, I think he picked me in 7th, but he said he didn't really like my team, so
you showed him, right?
I showed him, yeah. Like, you can rank me in 7th and there's, it's fine, but when you rank me in 7th and say you don't like my team, it's like, okay.
Mike too, you can see Zaid in the mud pit at the draft. So
we'll be there.
All right, well, that'll do it. Zaid, do you have anything left to say to your people as champion of Weekend Dads? New season starts soon, but you're just going to be former champion coming up. Going to be battling for your title.
For sure, I'm going to come to this season trying to battle for my title, but at the same time, I don't mind somebody that didn't win before to win this year. So it becomes more, the more people win it, the more competitive it gets, I think. I'm so excited for the draft. I think there's a lot of good players in this year's draft. Like this year, like going to the draft, there's a lot of good players that you can pick in the 7th, 8th round pick. So I'm really excited for this draft. Cannot wait.
Well, you got a really good start, and you got a chance to be the first ever to go back-to-back in Weekend Dads, and then become the first ever 2-time champion as well.
That's the goal.
Never had a double champion. So get the back-to-back and get that second championship, but not really, because I want to win it. So, but that's gonna do it for the show. We'll see all you guys at the draft. Get ready for some cookies. We'll talk to you later. You reckon, Zaid?
I reckon.
Goodbye.